gingivitis, that is inflammation of the gingiva. That's where that word comes from. Inflammation of the gums is gingivitis. The oral cavity itself is this space. So this right here is the oral cavity. It's the opening where you first have food go into the mouth. So for the oral cavity, for this opening here, the bottom part of it is marked with the tongue, right? So the tongue makes up the bottom part of the oral cavity. The top part of the oral cavity is called the palate. So the top part of the roof of your mouth is also referred to as the palate. In the front part, the anterior part of your palate, there is a bone that makes up the anterior part. So it's actually going to be your maxilla as well as your palatine bone that makes up the anterior part. Because it is a bone that creates this, it is called the hard palate. Okay, so the front part of the palate here, from here to here, is the hard palate. On the posterior part of the roof of your mouth, it changes from bone to tissue, to connective tissue. And so this back part or posterior part is the soft palate. It's hard palate and soft palate. Very end of the soft palate, kind of hanging, that thing that's hanging in the back of your throat that you can see, this has a name. This is called the uvula. So the uvula is the dangly structure that's found in the back of your throat. It's the very end of the soft palate. Okay, so the next structure is then the pharynx. So the pharynx, you had the parts of the pharynx for both the respiratory and the digestive system. And so on your terms list here for digestive, it's going to cover these anyway because you also need to know them for the respiratory system. But on here, it doesn't have the nasopharynx because technically the nasopharynx would be part of the digestive system. So food, when you ingest food, the first place that it would go in your throat is just into the oropharynx, and then it would travel down to the laryngopharynx. But food should never go up into the nasal cavity, so it shouldn't ever go up into the nasopharynx. But you still need to know it anyway because you need to know it for the respiratory system. So the pharynx, again, is your throat. So this entire tube from here to here. The top part of the pharynx is going to be the nasopharynx. So this part of the tube. The part of the tube that is just behind the mouth is the oropharynx. And then the part of the tube that is right near the larynx is the laryngopharynx. Same as respiratory. Now, once we get to the laryngopharynx, that bottom part of your throat, this is where we hit that fork in the road where, depending on what substance it is, so whether it's air or food, we're either going to go into the trachea and into the respiratory system, or we're going to go into the digestive system. So for right now, or what we've already covered, it would be the pathway of air and going into the larynx and then into the windpipe and then to the lungs. That's going to be on the anterior side.